Brock is the system quarterback. When defense is expecting pass, Brock struggles. When defense expecting pass, Brock struggles. When they motion and disguise looks and teams load the box, he does good. This is a perfect transition for what I wanted to ask you. Somebody put out that the 49ers are pass first with Brock Purdy. I disagree. I would not say they're pass first at this point in time. Right now, doesn't mean they can't become that way, and doesn't mean they shouldn't necessarily. I question whether they're built to be that team from an offensive line standpoint. They do have the most expensive wide receiver room in the NFL at $55 million. I'm curious, man. Like you and I had a conversation. I posted it on Twitter that I was saying, hey, we need to pass more. We need to pass more. We need to pass more, which I find interesting now because people are saying we're pass first team. And at the time when I was telling people to pass more, they're like, no, don't change it up. We're a run first team. That's our identity. But now they're saying they're flipping the script on me. So my question is, I think we agree they're not a pass first team at this point. But should the 49ers become a fast first team, are they built for that? Do you want to see them be pass first?
No, I don't think it's what suits Kyle or Brock, either one of them. I think the way Kyle and his dad both have success offensively has been the same since the 90s. Run first, play action second, drop back third. They create big openings in the defense. It's what they're famous for, getting guys open, scheming guys open through play action. When it's time to just pure drop back, third and whatever, that is the least effective, the least creative, the least ingenuitive part of their playbook. And then the way they build their team is consistent with that. Like they have offensive linemen who are there for run blocking, and they can get overwhelmed in pass protection. Some of them are like 295 pounds. That the drop back pass game is really more of a quick passing game. Get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly and get some yards after the catch. It's not that sophisticated or dangerous. Like the teams that have the ability to do that, the Rams, similar offensive scheme and philosophy, but they just happen to have Matthew Stafford. So they actually invested in their offensive line, and they can drop back and play that game. If they can, if it becomes a shootout where you got to throw 50 times and win, they can do that. The Niners they don't ever try. It's not how they're built to win or play.
Yeah. I agree with I agree with everything you said, but for me, it's multiple reasons, right? And this is what I was arguing last year. I think November we had this conversation in 2023. I want them to be prepared for the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and because in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, these teams are good. You're facing good defenses. They're going to take away your strength, which for the Niners has always been the run game, and you're going to have to go to the pass. And I want them to be prepared for that. It's also a passing league. The rules are catered for passing. Now, I agree with what you're saying, that this team's not built for that, and it probably would have less success if they went that route. But there's also this pending contract lined up for Brock Purdy, and I would like to see what he can do in that situation. I would like to see – not only that, I would like to see the 49ers become a pass-first team. I've been saying that for forever because I think that's the modern NFL, but you need a quarterback to do that, and I want to see if Brock Purdy can be that guy if you take away the run first and all the defense every defense you play is focused on stopping the run. If you take that away and you just spread everybody out and let Brock Purdy do his thing, I want to see that before we pay the guy $50 million a year. So for that reason, I would like to see it. Now, does it give them the best chance in the regular season? Probably not. Probably not, to be honest. But if they get to the playoffs, they got to be prepared to play that way. Look what happened, against the Lions, the Packers, and the Chiefs.
People just forget the Jimmy Garoppolo era. Came to the team. He was a backup. The team was 1-10. He started and won 5 games in a row before he got paid. People called him Jimmy Jesus. They acted like he was a franchise savior. Like, there was no criticism of Jimmy. Then he got paid. Then he got hurt. Then he lost the Super Bowl. And over time, slowly, people were like, you know what? He's just not good enough. And that could be waiting for Brock if he gets the big extension and doesn't win the Super Bowl. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. Matt says Brock Purdy is punching above his weight class. 49ers for life gives Grant $2 just because he likes him. He likes him. Joshua Wyatt says Jimmy was a good quarterback when he got here. He got hurt, lost mobility, wasn't a hard worker, and his mechanics fell apart. He wasn't the same guy by the end. And
Was he a good quarterback? I don't know.
what I
Maybe he
love
was.
about Brock is that he is a hard worker. Like that, Brock wants
He
to
is
be
a hard
good.
worker.
Yeah.
That's a big difference between the two. I think what made Brock so successful is that, yeah, he's in a quarterback-friendly offense, but he mastered it very quickly in a way that Jimmy never seemed to care to. So that gave him a leg up, and then the fact that he was naturally more elusive and mobile also helps. Those are two big things in his favor. And that he makes no money. That's a trifecta.
Yeah, and Amp, the Carolina Niner brings up another good point. Brock can't make $60 million on a run heavy team. See, that's the thing too, Grant. It's like the Niners have the most expensive wide receiver room in the NFL, and they might be paying Brock Purdy one of the biggest contracts in the history of the NFL soon. He might not be the top paid quarterback, but he's going to have a top 10 contract when he gets his, just because of the nature of his position. So if you're going to have the most expensive wide receiver room, and maybe the plan is to move on from Deebo Samuel, but this year they do have the most expensive receiver room in the NFL, don't you need to use it?
That's what I would think. I mean, if you're going to have this expensive of a quarterback and the most expensive wide receiver room, you'd think you'd be a team that would be top 5 in pass attempts, or at least top 10. And I guarantee you the Niners never will be with Kyle Shanahan as head coach. They won't, unless they're 5-12 that year. So that's just how he runs his offense. And if they don't win a Super Bowl and they feel like they're not maximizing their quarterback and their investments down the line, that's when you start thinking, that's when he could be in trouble. When you really pay a quarterback, but you don't use them like an elite quarterback, maybe the owner says maybe there's another coach out there who could get more out of him. But the question is there another coach out there that can get more out of Brock Purdy? Is Brock Purdy truly because that's why Brandon Staley got fired, right? You had Justin Herbert. You weren't getting enough out of him. You got to go. Here comes Jim Harbaugh to correct your mistake. Does anyone, because Justin Herbert, everyone looks at Justin Herbert as like the next Stafford. Like he's legit. He's elite. He has the tools. He just needs a coach to match it. People don't look at Brock Purdy that way. They, pat him on the head. They give him all kind of praise, but it's not like they're holding him back. It's like, yeah, he's really, really good and great fit for Kyle. Kyle can really get the most out of him. What coach is out there saying, like, man, give me Brock Purdy. I'll show you guys how it's done. I don't know about that.
Yeah, and a lot of people are using the argument that, the 49ers drafted 2 wide receivers this year, and Ricky Pearsall with pick 31, which was a lot higher than people saw him going, and then they got Cowing. So they drafted 2 wide receivers on a team that already has Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, the highest paid receiver room in the NFL. The question is why? A lot of people are saying that they are going to be pass first this coming year, and that's why they did that. To me, it feels more like they were hedging because they could have traded Deebo, and they plan on moving on from probably Deebo after this year, and that's what it seems like to me. These seem like picks for the future, and maybe we'll get a little bit of Pearsall sprinkled in, but I don't think he's going to get more than 30 targets this year. I mean, maybe he does, but I guess what my question is, why did they draft the receivers? Are they going to become a pass first team?
I don't think so. I think they drafted a receiver because they understand that they're going to have to probably let Deebo Samuel go to pay Brock. Like they're going to have more guys on rookie deals when Brock is making all this money to keep things the way they are now. So they have a replacement in here to learn because you got to learn the offense. You can't just play until you learn the offense. It's a very complicated offense. I don't think Kyle wants to change. I don't think Kyle think he needs to change. I don't think he's capable of change. I think he's locked in. Look, maybe I'm wrong, but when I'm there in this organization, the feel I get is they think they've got the winning formula. They think they've had it since 2019. And the fact that they haven't won the Super Bowl yet is just a fluke. That's, I think, how they think. And so what's important for them is to keep everything as much the same as possible so they can really prove that they should have won those Super Bowls back then. Because if you change and evolve, it almost acknowledges that you weren't good enough. And they don't acknowledge that. They were the best team against the Chiefs. It was just a holding penalty here or a Ray, a fluke, and this and that. That's how they operate.